Hello and welcome to Front Porch Radio. I'm Julie Wilder. I am here. This is going to be a mother-daughter edition today. Hey, Max, how are you doing?
Hey.
It's been a while since we've actually talked together on the radio.
It has. I think it's been a good 10 years.
A good 10 years. Yeah, you were my sidekick. For those of you who are listening that don't know my backstory, I hosted Front Porch Radio for a decade and then took like 6 or 7 years off, as quite a few people did because the station radio signal was down for a little while, and then the pandemic hit, and it was just kind of a funky time. And so finally rebooted the program just last month, I think, and Max was the DJ, one of the DJs on the show just before. So very excited to have you back though, because you used to come in here when you were a baby and then a toddler.
Yes, I'd scour the CD collection, which by the way is gone.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's a totally different setup in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but now you're a DJ and so am I.
Yep.
And I was like, I've got, the election on my mind. You went with me to vote early.
When do you not? I
know, right? But I mean, I think that one of the things is I've been kind of checked out of politics for a while, and like when the whole,
right.
I was just like so over it. It's so gross. And I was taking a breather because we at least had, Biden in office, and
yeah,
I was just kind of coasting there for a while. Just fatigued as many people are with what's going on the national stage. But it's so interesting because you were born literally into an Obama presidency.
Yes, ma'am. I was born with Obama. Well, not with Obama, but yeah, Michelle Obama was my first rally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Democrats used to come to Florida because we were a swing state back then.
Yeah.
And apparently, according to polls, we were not a swing state anymore, which is depressing. But yeah, do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. I remember being in the bathroom and seeing all like the little American flag stickers everywhere. But that's my only memory, I think.
Yeah, but your first real political impression was watching Michelle Obama give a speech, stumping for her husband, President Obama, for his second term.
Yes.
Yeah. So, So then, a little bit later on,
Trump.
I
remember that one very clearly.
Talk about it.
I thought we were going to die. I mean, as many of us did, but my dreams.
How old were you when that happened?
I don't know. That's undisclosed information.
We would have to calculate back.
Well, we don't have to on air. We
go
don't
ahead.
have to calculate my age. It's okay. I was young enough to think we were going to die.
Oh my God. Did I give you that impression? Was I that freaked? I mean, I was
You
depressed.
were pretty freaked out.
I was very upset.
I mean, I just saw the climate and I was like, oh, that's not good.
I didn't mean to stress you out that bad.
It's okay.
I mean, then we did have a pandemic and then it was getting scary for a minute.
Well, I was less concerned about the pandemic than I was Trump. But
well, do you remember that dream that you had about him?
I do. That was a weird dream. My dream was...
I think this was actually before he got elected.
It was before all of that happened. He was running against Hillary, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. In my dream, Trump was like trying to buddy up with me, okay? And I was like, yo, back off. Like, I don't know. Like, he was like, it was kind of creepy, as Trump is.
Right.
And I was like, you're like in your 70s, like, I don't, stranger danger. And then like a black tar star shape flew down from the ceiling and landed on this mushroom, like this giant mushroom, because apparently we were like, in fantasy world.
Right.
And then I don't remember all of this because it's been a while, but then we were all like put on a ship, like a giant like sailboat.
Like a ocean
pirate ship.
Oh, a pirate ship.
It was a pirate ship. It was wood.
Okay.
And we were like all of the humans, not that there were no non-humans, but like we were all like in the underbelly where you keep like the food and stuff and all that. And there were like a bunch of like poles horizontally going through like from one end of the ship to the other. And everyone was like trapped in these, like in between these poles because you can't get through. And the only people that were able to escape and like get up were the kids because they were small enough to climb through the poles. And that was my dream.
Yeah, that was pretty heavy, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I asked you some questions because it was like a black tar star, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this, but I asked you, okay, what way was the star? And you were like, it was an upside down star. And I was like, oh my gosh.
How can an upside down star?
That's what you said. I'm going on what you said, which you had no idea what that would have meant. But I was like, okay, foreboding, darkness is.
You wake up to your like elementary schooler being like, yo.
Yeah, you had to be like 7 or 8 years old.
Something like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, what was your impression of that time when he won? We've never actually really talked about it because, I mean, I know I woke up depressed, man, the next day.
Right. Well, I remember watching the election and I was like, okay, this is rigged. Like Hillary like won the popular vote because I didn't know how the Electoral College worked. And so then you explained that to me and I was like, okay, fine, it's not rigged, but
I mean, it sort of is rigged,
well,
but with an official electoral college.
Yeah, I was like, okay, fine. He won kind of fair and square.
Right.
You know, because
by the rules, he won.
By the rules, he won, and I'm a Virgo, so that meant a lot to me. But yeah, so I don't know. I was just like, well, we could have had a woman, but also there was a lot of debate, like, honestly, within like my like little kids section of the world, you know, like I was like, I had many an experience of like talking about who's, you know, better, Hillary or Trump or whatever. And that was interesting being like, you know, 9 and having to defend your mother's choice. Cause I mean, I didn't know what was going on. You know, I was too young to understand the concept of Donald Trump.
Right.
And then, you know, I got a little older and I, you know, started seeing clips of him being weird at rallies and not weird. It wasn't even his weird clips. It was just him being kind of stupid at rallies.
Yeah.
And that was entertaining. He was more, okay, at that age, politics was like my favorite reality TV show because it was like, oh my God, did you see what he did? Did you see him pretend to play a xylophone on air? Like, that's kind of funny. You know,
I miss the xylophone on air thing, but you know, I believe you.
It's a fun clip. You should watch it.
Okay. So he was an entertaining.
It was an entertaining and like also because I have anxiety, so I was pretty stressed out. I had like, you wanted to go to like a march or something, and I was like, don't go. I thought it was gonna be like dangerous. Yeah. I was like, doesn't he live here? Like, because of the Trump Tower and stuff. I was like, this is very concerning. Like, I was like, do not go. Like, don't go. And I don't think you did, but nothing, you know, happened there. So it
was
fine. And then COVID hit, obviously. And by then I was fully sentient and conscious and I was able to like, you know, have my own opinions about him. And I was, you know.
No, I don't know. What do you mean?
Well,
you know?
I mean, it's Trump. Well, like, I saw him as, okay, in my brain, Trump is like 4'8" and neon orange, and he has like a blonde toupee on.
Right. So he just looks like a cartoon character to you?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like grossly detailed.
Right.
You know, like in SpongeBob when they cut to, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I grew up, and then, you know, I saw his clips of, you know, him being like, we should inject bleach into our blood system because that will kill COVID. And I was like, okay, I'm in like 6th grade science and I know better. Like, I just thought it was kind of ridiculous, really.
Right.
And then the other election happened and Joe Biden, and, you know, Joe Biden he was better back then.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we all aged with time. And now we're not so hot on Joe Biden, but I'm really hyped for Kamala. The TikTok propaganda is definitely working on
Oh,
me.
yeah. Tell me about that.
Oh, yeah. So in like 7th grade, you get taught about Nazi Germany and like
Yes, history.
propaganda. You get taught about what propaganda is, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I did not realize what I was consuming was propaganda until someone pointed it out. And I was like, you're right. And it's really good propaganda. I like it a lot. Because, Kamala Harris, her TikTok account started posting with like Brat Summer, which, Charlie XCX, her whole album, her Brat album. And like just like funny stuff, and like I was like, this is amazing. And then I was like, okay, wait, hold on. She's using a popular album to get all of Gen Z on her side, which like love Kamala still.
Right.
Everyone's gonna use propaganda.
But like so you're taking propaganda in just the pure form of like not necessarily like evil or bad propaganda, but just like
it is propaganda. That's what it is.
Yeah. I like your discernment,
Well,
yeah, I agree. Like it's very important that you realize that you have somebody that is appealing to your generation in a way that speaks to you, which can be, something that you have to also look beyond to the issues, right?
Yeah, it's the first time because obviously Gen Z is maximum of 27, 28?
I don't know.
So they're old, like late 20s, right?
Okay.
And so this is the first time that like presidents have been able to use social media and be good at it.
Right.
To get on the younger generation side, you know?
Well, I think that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. I do think that and you might be too young to remember this, but President Obama actually started to use a lot of humor during his presidency with film clips, and like he would just do these like really funny things, which I thought was great at helping people stay engaged in politics and not take it like not think. I mean, I long for those days because it was like politics was actually like looked like it could be fun, because a lot of people tune out when it's not fun.
Right.
And so he was being very playful. I mean, he's famous for his, dad jokes and whatever else. And so I actually got to go to a talk here in Orlando several years ago from one of the people who worked for him at the White House that was kind of behind. He had a ton of young people working in the White House. Yeah. And so he started to use social media, not necessarily, I mean, there was a little bit in the campaigning going on, of course, but he just was starting to use social media just as a president. Yeah. And invoking humor and having fun with it. And there was like those famous like videos of him and Joe Biden with their sunglasses on and stuff like that. And it was like, it was relatable is what I'm trying to say.
It was relatable. Yeah. They connected the audience. And that's the thing, is that I don't know who is working for Kamala's social media team, but they are on it. Yeah. Okay.
They're people your age.
Right. Exactly. And so I've never seen a president successfully use Gen Z humor and slang and memes and like things like pop culture references that are current, like they're popular now. Yeah. And I've never seen a president successfully do that without it being cringe.
Well, yeah, I mean, you even see that it's so interesting you're talking about the culture, right? Right. Because I think that is a huge thing going on right now. It's like this difference of we have a ton of different subcultures in America. Yes. And I mean, I think Eminem like introduced Obama. Yes. And then Obama started spitting one of his raps out. Yeah. And he pulled it off. I mean, I'll say like he eats that stuff up. He's one of, and
honestly, that was kind of like crazy because there's this whole drama online about Eminem. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, a lot of millennials on TikTok thought that Gen Z was canceling Eminem, and no one really cared. And then Eminem released a rap song that just like wasn't good, and then we were just like, okay, well, this is like, we're not trying to cancel Eminem, but it's just like a bad song. Mm-hmm. And that was recently, like his newest song, it was not that good. Right.
I'm out of the loop, so I have no idea.
The lyrics were just like, oh yeah, you think I can't be bad and, cool anymore? Watch this. And we were like, oh,
Dad.
Yeah.
Dad now.
Yeah, I was like, oh, no. Right? And so.
Do you think he won the people back when he started to introduce?
Well, I don't know if he won them back, but I mean, no one hates Eminem. He's Eminem. He has his legacy still,
Right.
But it definitely, like, everyone was like, oh, okay, like, respect,
Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, I've just like Kamala has, when she brought out Beyonce, she got Meghan Trainor to dance at her. Meghan Trainor, if you get Meghan Trainor to show up in a suit, you've done something,
right? Yeah. So you're looking at a lot of this celebrity response. Yeah. And she's gotten endorsed by Billie Eilish, by Phineas, by Taylor Swift, by Insane Clown Posse, which, like, I don't even think that they're relevant enough for that. But sorry, I just was listing things in my brain. Right. Well, he also they also got some endorsements from probably people you don't know, like Ricky Martin, and different, like, because I don't know if you saw did you see what was said at his rally this weekend about Puerto Rico?
Trump?
Yeah. Well, not Trump, but somebody at his a quote, I'm going to say quote unquote comedian made a terrible quote unquote joke. He had a rally.
Who?
Trump.
Okay.
Trump had a rally in New York City. And this guy, I mean, he said all sorts of terrible things about Latinos, but then he said, and there's like this floating, island of garbage, out in the ocean, and he waits a beat, and he's like, I think they call it Puerto Rico. Like, that got said at a rally this weekend. So a bunch of Puerto Rican artists have now come out and been like, okay, well, I just want to let y'all know that's not okay.
It's like, they've stopped hiding it. Like, I feel like we're like a lot of right-wing people would hide their opinions about, if they were, secretly racist or something. And now we're just being loosey-goosey with it. And I'm like, have some shame. What happened? Like,
what do you think happened?
Well, I think people want to believe in someone. And Trump says things with such confidence and is kind of that, like, high school bully figure where instead of, like, in debates, instead of, like, coming up with good points, he just makes fun of them, which obviously works because he won.
Well, let's remember he won not the popular vote, but he still won. You're right. But he ascended to power being a bully.
It happened. And, despite one's opinions on Trump or his policies and stuff, from someone who's, like, in a debate class, I'm just like, this isn't even how you do it.
Yeah.
You're not even following the rules, bro.
Yeah.
Like, my teacher would be mad at me.
Yeah, and you're a sophomore in high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, silence your phone, girl.
I tried to. I'm sorry. Go on.
Okay. What were we talking about?
Debate class and how he basically is, like, not even.
Oh, yeah. Well,
like, he'd be in trouble with your teacher.
He'd be in trouble with my teacher. And so, I just, like.
All right, I'm just going to remind everyone while we're gathering our thoughts. You're listening to Front Porch Radio. I'm Julie Weiler. I'm with my teenage daughter, Max, here, and we are just kind of reminiscing about basically their political history being on Earth, and it has been so interesting for me, like, watching all of this happen, and I've been taking you to vote with me, like, almost every election.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my best to prepare you to be, like, an engaged citizen.
Oh, I am plenty engaged. We all know I'm engaged.
Well, our listeners don't know that.
Well, I'm engaged. And it's, I obviously in a Florida school, a public school, lots of people with lots of different opinions. It's kind of humorous sometimes because sometimes you can tell they are not educated or they've done
Wait, you're talking about your fellow classmates?
Yes.
Okay.
They've done their own education or, and, you know, then there's people who have, you know, good strategies. You know, like I have friends who are conservative and Trump supporters, and I have friends who are logical and Trump supporters, and people who do not know what they're talking about and are Trump supporters. And I have people who are Democrats and, you know, left wing who are logical and unlogical, you know?
Right. Yeah. So you see,
I see a lot of people's parents talking through their kids' mouths. And I see a lot of people who, you know, found their own little, you know, people, you know, some of my friends are like crazy conservatives, like conspiracy theory, you know, and they're perfectly aware of what is happening in reality, you know?
the kids are aware where the adults, their parents, don't
exactly.
seem to be. Okay.
Yeah.
And they seem aware that their parents are off kilter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But it's interesting because for a while I refused to be friends with anyone who had differing opinions than me because it would get me so mad so easily. And now I have friends who have differing opinions than me, and sometimes it's just like we agree to disagree, and sometimes we have fun little debates during a lunch, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
It's interesting. And so what is the mood? Are people actually talking about the election?
Not the election, but I mean, Trump is something to talk about.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, no one thought, I mean, people did think he said he was going to run again, but it was like surprising to me.
Yeah, like I think a lot of Americans are like, how is, like,
It's been 9 years.
I feel like Trump is, I think that Trump is revealing a lot of the flaws in our democracy in terms of like, how does somebody who, you know, who is, you know, incites an insurrection and, you know, who all of his top generals are like, dude's a fascist, you know, he's a danger to our democracy.
He does things where it's like, I didn't even know you could do that.
Like what?
Like, January 6th. Didn't know you could do that.
Well, yeah, I think that was beyond most Americans' imaginations.
Yeah. I didn't know you could, I didn't think you could overturn Roe v. Wade, but he did it. I didn't know you could spend 9 years running. Hey, that's a new one.
Well, I mean, technically, he was president for 4, took 4 years off.
Did he take 4 years off? He kept going.
You know.
He kept going.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this kid's never gone away.
Yeah.
You know? And what else did he do that I didn't know? There's a lot of things where I was just like, I didn't know. Okay. Pop culture reference. What is that guy's name, actually?
Who?
This comedian. John Mulaney. Okay, John Mulaney, in one of his Netflix specials, had a bit where he was talking about Trump, and he compared him to a horse loose in like a hospital.
Okay.
And you just like, you didn't, how did the horse get there? Right? And then he was just like making jokes about social media getting updated by it. And he's like, the horse used the elevator. I didn't know he knew how to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a lot of things where I was like, I didn't know that was possible. We're finding new places, new little dark corners to put torches in, you know?
Right.
But yeah, a lot of the stuff was upsetting. You know, like especially Roe v. Wade or here in Florida, the Don't Say Gay law. I was devastated. You know.
Yeah. What's the impact been for you on a like as an actual public school student? Like, what has it been like?
The impact, I have to say, in middle school when the Don't Say Gay law became a thing, I was extremely worried because I attended a K-8 school, right? So it applied to my school. And as like, a gay little middle schooler, like still figuring everything out, I was extremely worried. And like, so were my friends. And I had, counselors at my school that were like, I get it, nothing, like, they would say like, oh, I get it. Don't worry. It's not going to affect you. Like, it's fine. And it's like, it's not about if it affects me or not. It's about all of the people that it's going to affect.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it does affect you. I would argue that it does affect you just knowing that that's something that you can't affirm.
Yeah. Yeah. It affected me in many ways, but like, it didn't directly affect me. Sure, it ended up not directly affecting me, but seeing that it was a law that could be passed, that affected me.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that like are really disappointing to see, It shows how corrupt and dysfunctional the government is. Like wanting to get rid of like the branches of government, like what?
The checks and balances.
Checks and balances, like in 7th grade I was taught by my civics teacher that this was the reason America had democracy in the first place. And I was, when you're getting taught how the USA was built and, how it was like, how it works and being told like, this is very important. We don't want to get rid of this. And then having a president, possibly future president come in and be like, you know what I'm going to do? Let's get rid of it. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, so you're like learning like in real time about government and how it functions and democracy.
And then seeing people go against it directly. It's just like, I feel like some people, I think some states, including ours, should go back to school. I think we need a refresher. I think we need to bring back education. And I think that we need to stop getting our information from social media, coming from someone who gets their information from social media. Okay?
Well, but do you think that you have a little bit more discernment about social media? Like how do you decide what is real and what is not real, and what do you further research? Like, how does that work for you?
Gen Z has a special eye for AI. Like, we can tell. Right. I mean, I know a lot of people who, those like, I know a lot of grown-ups who cannot discern reality from AI, and like,
especially the older folks.
Yes, especially the older folks. Like, there's like, those AI pictures of like Jesus walking the earth again, and people are freaking out, or like, but I mean, obviously there are things that you want to double look up if something sounds a little too crazy. But I mean, nowadays, nothing really surprises me, which is kind of sad.
Right.
How I'm just like, someone will be like, oh, this happened. And I'm like.
So you feel like you're like desensitized?
Oh, I'm definitely desensitized.
Yeah.
I'm definitely desensitized.
So let me ask you, let's switch tracks. We've talked about Trump a lot. What are your thoughts about the Kamala and Tim Walz ticket?
I think they're doing good. Yeah. I like Kamala Harris. I mean, I have not particularly looked into her policies. I know she has some odd fracking policies.
Yeah, that's a concern to me.
Right. And again, I'm kind of desensitized. So like the whole we're going to die, climate change is going to take us all thing has been going on for my entire life. That it's kind of just like, okay, like when, like I'm waiting. And I know that like it's definitely an issue and it's going to be irreversible soon, but I can't really do anything about that. And so I'm not really going to stay focused on that one. Obviously do not put someone who wants to continue fracking or doesn't believe in climate change.
So for you, yeah, go ahead. Keep
you
thought.
can.
Well, I was just wondering because from just the first touch I'm getting, it seems like you're more vested in not Trump than like it for you. Is it like anybody but Trump, or like do you actually like the policies in general, the Democratic Party? Like, you know what I'm saying?
It is right now. It's anyone but Trump,
Okay.
and then after Trump has had his fun little playtime in the office, make believe, we can move on to actual policy. Because I'm not like closed off to Republican candidates.
Right.
I think, I haven't seen, that's the thing is I've grown up with Trump being the Republican candidate. So if there is a Republican candidate that I could agree with, besides, Trump, I would, look into them. I'm not like decided. I mean, obviously a lot of my beliefs lean left. And so I'm automatically more open and biased towards Democrats, but I'm not closed off to Republicans. I don't think that should define, like there's obviously, every president has different policies, and I like Kamala's more than I like Joe Biden's, And I think that the way, like her economic plan, I thought that her economic plan was written in a way that was easier to understand. I feel like a lot of times they people like to use jargon to make it sound fancier, but I think her approach of just writing it out plain and simple with like a direct, still complex, it's not simple, but it's, easy to read,
right,
so that people can understand it. Because I think a lot of times people look at a really long policy with fancy jargon and they're like, yeah, that seems good.
Yeah, or it's just so over their heads.
So that they don't even pay attention.
Yeah.
But, I think it's, something you could get behind because you can understand it,
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the like issues, forget about the particular candidates. Like what are what drives you to want to even pay attention to politics? What are issues that matter to you?
Unfortunately, women's rights is still on the table, which
we don't have the Equal Rights Amendment yet.
We don't have the Equal Rights Amendment in abortion, That is definitely a topic I am interested on. And gay rights, obviously, also an issue. That one gets me real mad real quick. I can't debate that one because it's just so, I think to me it's so plain and simple. Like I cannot comprehend a world where like gay marriage is illegal. Like,
I love that for you.
Thanks.
I love that for you because that actually happened when you were a child.
Right. And so I just like can't, it doesn't seem like we're like LGBTQ people are any different than straight people. Obviously, besides the lack of rights, that's, different. But other than that, I think it's like so plain and simple that I can't even fathom like why someone would not affirm that,
Well, it's the Bible, according to, I'm kidding, but I'm not.
I don't actually, you know what? I don't think it's the Bible. I think that people have misunderstood some of the things that the Bible have said. I think that a lot of people use religion as an excuse to hate, because I know a lot of good Christians who follow the Bible and are not homophobic.
Right.
And I don't like the excuse that the Bible is homophobic, because it's not. Being religion, like there are a lot of Christians that use hate and back it by their religion, which is not the purpose of believing in Jesus and believing in God and believing in being good and having love for everyone. When you're using it to spread hate, that doesn't make sense. And I think that it's weird to say you support all religions and like accept all religions and then beat down on Christianity, which obviously there is a lot of people who do not use it correctly, but I don't think that it's an excuse for how they're acting, because I know plenty of people who are Christian and that they're not like that.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. So women's rights, particularly abortion, gay rights.
Speaking of which, separation of church and state.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes along with abortion, because a lot of, Christians do not believe in abortion because they believe that it's killing the life or whatever of a baby. And I think that that's the reason pro-choice exists, because a lot of people say pro-choice and then they hear pro-abortion, which is not the case. The whole point of being pro-choice is that if you're religious and you do not believe that abortion should happen, you don't get one. And if you need one, then you get one. That's the pro-choice. It's choice. It's the believing in freedom and choice and the decision to choose. It's not believing that people should give abortions out willy-nilly. Like, I think a lot of people think that women who have abortions are unfazed by it. But it's like it's not something that should be taken lightly. I don't think any woman can have an abortion and be unbothered by it. I think you're going to be grieving your baby. Like, it's not, there's this phenomenon that has been on social media recently where a lot of women have talked about having a dream, like when you're sleeping, a dream of having a kid and like raising it, and then waking up and being like panicking because they're like, where's my kid? And I think, and like grieving the loss of their literally imaginary child.
Yeah, this future timeline that could have existed. Yeah.
And I think that if women are seriously grieving their loss of a quite literally imaginary dream child, then there is no reason that it would be taken lightly when there's a real could-be baby in your uterus.
Yeah.
And I do not understand.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who just use like baby killer as this like overarching umbrella and don't take into consideration that there are medical reasons, that there are, people who have also been violated, but also just simply like socioeconomic impact of not being able or being connected to someone that is going to be an unhealthy partner or father.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of different reasons that go into it, and it really is. It really isn't as simplified because, I've always long said like, well, if people care about babies and families, then for me, the democratic policies which have, encouraged sex education,
right,
which have encouraged family, medical leave policies, things that would encourage a better socioeconomic situation I'm a single mom. So
right. I think that pro-life is the wrong word for it, because if you were pro-life, you would fix the foster care system, you would fix the adoption system, you would fix maternity care and paternity care, you'd fix food stamps, you'd fix sex education, you'd make birth control cheaper, you'd make I forget the word, contraception free.
Right.
Like, these were the precautions that you would be taking if you were pro-life, because if you valued the life of not only the baby but the woman's life is what we should be valuing, because she's the one who's lived for however long, is going to continue live for however long.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people do not value the life of the woman, which is dehumanizing and degrading, and it shouldn't be like that.
Right. Yeah, I'm just going to remind everyone you're listening to Front Porch Radio on WPRK 91.5 FM. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Julie Wilder. This show airs every Monday at 4 p.m. I'm speaking with my teen daughter. I'm totally loving this because it's so interesting to me, because you and I actually don't talk like this on a regular basis. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's so I'm hearing you talk, and you have really well formed which doesn't surprise me, of course, because I know you, I'm your mom, but it's not like you're getting these talking points from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is something where, like, how did you research all that? Like, you and I have, like, maybe surface talked about abortion, but I haven't heard you give, like, particular, like, well thought out arguments like that until just now. So is it in debate? Are you learning these things in debate, or are you just looking up the issue? Like, how do your friends, and your friends talk about it?
You don't have to research. I mean, obviously you need to know a thing or two about abortions in general.
Right.
But it's general knowledge, and you put the pieces together.
oh, I'm sorry. Are you just a critical thinker?
Yeah.
Yes, I win as mom. I'm winning at parenting.
Listen, AP Human Geography that class taught me in general how the government, how society was built up and how it works, like all of that stuff. And a lot of people, like, are literally just not thinking logically, like ignoring your opinions on policies and ignoring your internal beliefs. Some of these things quite literally just do not work out logically. Like, banning abortions does not stop abortions. It stops safe abortions. A time before abortion existed, abortion still happened, just not in a doctor's office.
Right. And a lot of people died.
Right. Exactly. And so it's not like something that I had to research. It's like having empathy. People lack empathy, and it's messed up. And I think that, like, some people just cannot be like, what? Like, put yourself in their shoes. It's like, yeah, okay, you're not a woman. You do not know what it feels like to be a woman or someone who could bear a child.
Right.
But I don't think it's that hard.
Yeah, I've been struggling because, I've talked to a few people that are kind of disengaged in politics over the last several weeks, and somebody over the weekend said that they feel like they are pro women and all of this other stuff. They want to make people around them feel safe, and but then they told me that they're not going to be voting because voting is basically voting for the same. It's evil on both sides. And I was like, wow, I feel completely unsafe now that you've said that to me, because it was a white male. And it was just interesting to me because to me, it seems very obvious that one candidate is a much safer choice.
Right.
For gay people, for women,
right.
for, people of color. And the other choice is actively a harm and a danger, and has proven that it's not just rhetoric. Like he's incited, it's just not good.
And I know that I am a woman and I'm LGBTQ, and so obviously I have an advantage on perspective, but I recognize that I'm white, and I still recognize systemic racism and how voting for Trump he's a racist man. Like, I do not know what it feels like to have that prejudice put against me already, and I still have empathy for those who do, and I understand that if, like, I voted for Trump, that would harm people who are, people of color in my life.
Right.
And so I have that, and I still can't understand why a lot of men in particular that are born with certain legs up, because society is built to favor men. I still can't understand.
Yeah, I mean, because and one of the things I said to him was that, like, it right now, it doesn't even matter if the most important thing to me that matters is socially what we as Americans come together to do in the next few weeks, right? We've got early voting going on right now, which the last day here in Orange County to vote early is November 2nd, everyone. And then you have to show up at your polling place on the 5th. Really encouraging everyone to get informed. Go to, I think it's like vote411.org, has a lot of really great information. Orange County election supervisor office has a lot of great information. And, like basically we're in the run up. The time is now. This is the time to get prepared and to get your ballot choices figured out and basically go down there. I mean, we went on Sunday and walked right in. There was no line, which I was kind of like, I kind of wish I saw a little bit of a line, but it was easy.
We went there 30 minutes before they closed.
Okay, yeah. Well, anyway, we were, but it was easy. It was breezy. And sometimes when you're waiting on election day, it can be a really long line. So I always try to get people to go early. But yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, it's the same. And you weren't born yet, but when Obama was running for office, I actually knew, I've said this before, but the first time I saw Obama speaking, not even as a presidential candidate, he was just a state senator. And I was like, oh my gosh, that guy's going to be president one day. I just felt it. Me, I'm like low-key, occasionally psychic. So I was like, that guy is going to totally win when he was running against his opponent. And so I just knew he was going to win, and he did, and things were great. But, this time I'm very hopeful that Kamala will win. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of even Republicans coming across the aisle in a way that I've never seen before. Right. I don't think that the polls are very accurate because they're using like outdated communication systems to reach people that kind of skew older, and things like that. And so I think even though like the world was upset when Trump won over Hillary, I kind of knew he was going to win. I just felt it. I was like, man, I just felt it. And I do think that now that we've had a black first couple in office for 8 years, and these boogeyman stories that people would tell, like the worst thing Obama did was wear a tan jacket. You know what I'm saying? like him and his wife are wholesome people, and they're good people, and they weren't trying to harm people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so you have that precedent. Then you also have had, of course, Hillary did run for office, and she won the popular vote. Right. Like that happened. That actually happened. And so we've had kind of like a trial run. So now, and we've had Kamala in office for 4 years. We elected her as vice president. So, change is hard for a lot of people. And they like to have certainty, which is why a friend of mine likes to say that, like all of these conspiracy theories and things like that, people just want to latch onto something certain, even if it's a complete fantasy. Right. And so we're at this point where we've got all of this stuff going on, all this war activity. We've got Russia and North Korea and, what's going on in Israel and the Gaza Strip and, like Iran, all of these different pretty scary things that are going on in the world. Not to mention the climate change that you were touching on earlier. And here we are like making a very consequential decision. And right now, to bring it back, like the most important thing that America did with Obama was vote a black man into office. And that meant something to all the people, just black people, to be able to see something that had never happened before happen in front of your eyes. Kind of like when gay marriage happened, luckily you don't remember what it was like before that, but it really wasn't that long ago. Right. And so right now we're looking at not Kamala, it's not just because she's a woman for me, but the fact that she is a woman and a black, Indian woman at that, like she's a mixed race, has a mixed family, stepkids, you know what I'm saying? Like that to me is what America looks like right now. Yeah. And I feel like she's relatable. I feel like I can I think about which candidate would I trust to babysit you?
Right. Not Trump.
Right. Which candidate would I like to work for me at my company?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the criteria for presidential candidate should be like, would this person be a good person to, give me advice about how to navigate elder care with my sick parent? Or, like, is this an adult? Mm-hmm. Do they have reasoning abilities,
Right.
Would I trust them to count the cash at night, at my business?
Right. Yeah. Also, one thing that my friend who has very pro-Trump conservative parents, he pointed out, because his parents were complaining about Kamala's rally recently and Obama's speech, and he was like, I never hear Democrats talking about freedom. It's always, I'm 24/7 hearing about Trump preaching freedom. And then I realized that Trump isn't the one giving freedom. Trump is actively taking rights away, and I cannot understand how, you could, preach freedom all of your rallies all day, every day, and not actually in any capacity give freedom.
Right.
We
call that gaslighting.
Well,
those of us,
well,
that are in observance. So how are you feeling about this election? Like, I
feel confident.
You feel confident?
I feel very confident.
Okay.
This is the first year. It's been a while since Gen Z could vote, and it was 2020 last time.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was kind of freaked out.
Yeah.
And I think COVID is cooled down. Gen Z, 4 more years of them can vote.
True.
We got about 10 years worth of Gen Z voting. And I think Gen Z is a lot more politically active and invested than past generations.
I'm going to give you some stats real quick because I have the early voting in Florida information in front of you. And I will tell you right now that the mail-in and early in-person votes cast, it's roughly 4.6 million right now as of this last update. And if you filter it by age, only 6% of those votes are with the ages 18 to 29. Now, I will tell you that typically older people, 52% of the people that have cast those ballots are over the age of 65 and 26% are between 50 and 60. So early voting does tend to skew to older people. And so it is going to be interesting to see what happens because typically the young people, they like to have the experience of going into the polls and like voting. I personally like that experience too. That's why I like to go in and vote early at least so that I can get that experience of voting in person. And so it'll be very interesting to see if Gen Z does turn out. Do you feel like they're going to?
Oh, I feel it in my bones.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And where do you get this? How do you get this feeling in your bones? Is it just a psychic feeling like I have sometimes?
Maybe I surround myself with politically active people, which I mean, I guess I do, but I'm in a lot of classes, and there's, a variety of people, and whether they're politically active or not, but the protests that we've seen over the last 4 years, I just think that Gen Z is very active because we've been told our whole lives one of two things. Don't pay attention. You're too young. You don't need to be involved. And you are the generation that has to fix our country. And if you tell teenagers not to do something, chances are they're going to do it.
Right.
And if you are grown up on the message that, like a call to action, it's inspiring.
Right.
And I think that growing up, also social media has gone, bazinga over the last, 10 years. And I think that it's opened a lot more perspective up to the world. You're able to communicate. You're able to you're able to communicate easier. You're able to research easier because, I mean, listen, I wasn't alive and well back then, so I didn't really, what, would you go to textbook or something? I don't know how it works.
To find about candidates?
Yeah, what do you do?
You would watch the news. I know that seems like a foreign concept, but
nobody,
honestly,
no.
Honestly, for me,
the thing is there was no recommended. Right now, you have an algorithm to show you what you want to see and put things new on your feed. Right. So on TikTok, on Instagram, not really. Don't trust Twitter.
Oh my gosh, we're out of time. I'm so sorry.
Anyway,
right.
It's easy to reach out.
Okay. Hey, it's been really great talking to you about this.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're smart and stuff, but like, man, you're really smart.
Thanks.
Anyway, you guys, Front Porch Radio. This is WPRK 91.5. My name is Julie Wilder. I've been talking with my teenage child, Max.